Good morning. My name is Jess Langer. I use she, they pronouns. For a quick physical description, I am a white woman wearing green glasses, short brown hair, and an orange top. I am joined today by my colleague Brenda Schaefer-Pellin, and we are both with the Arrowhead Area Agency on Aging. Brenda will be managing our technology and monitoring the chat today. We'd like to welcome you and thank you for joining us for today's session on building a community legacy, making a lasting impact. Before we start, we'll just share a few housekeeping items. We are excited to announce that today's webinar will be accessible to a wider audience. We have arranged for American Sign Language interpreters who will be present throughout the session. And these interpreters will rotate every 15 minutes, ensuring that everyone can follow the content effectively. To access the interpretation feature, simply click on the interpretation button at the bottom of your screen. And additionally, we are recording the entire webinar with this ASL interpretation, so the recordings will be available on our YouTube channel for later viewing. Whether you attend the live session or catch up with us later, you'll have the opportunity to engage with the material in a way that suits your needs. I encourage you to subscribe to our channel so you can keep up with the latest additions to our video library. We are always looking for suggestions for future webinar topics, and if you have suggestions for topics or speakers, feel free to send those to Brenda at her email, which she will share in the chat now. We ask that you please keep your microphone set to mute today. And just a note, if you experience any issues with your bandwidth or audio quality, it often helps to disable your camera. If you'd like, you can enter your first name and organization or community that you're from in the chat box, and also share what you are hoping to get out of today's session and how you found out about it. If you have any questions as we go along today, please feel free to enter your question into the chat and we will coordinate follow-up responses from our presenters either at the end or via email afterwards. At the close of today's session, you will see a quick evaluation of the session pop up in your browser. Please take a moment and complete that survey. It helps us greatly when planning for future sessions. Next slide. A little bit about the Arrowhead Area Agency on Aging. The Arrowhead Regional Development Commission is designated by the Minnesota Board on Aging as the Area Agency on Aging for the Planning and Service Area under the authority of Title III of the Older Americans Act. The Arrowhead Area Agency on Aging, also referred to in shorthand as the Quad A, is committed to helping older adults maintain their highest level of independence. Area Agencies on Aging, otherwise known as AAAs, are regional organizations that provide the services, supports, and information for just about everything that older adults and their families could need. Minnesota has 7 AAAs across the state that are the local connections to older Minnesotans and the community support they need as they age. The Arrowhead Area Agency on Aging's planning and service area includes the counties of Aiken, Carlton, Cook, Itasca, Koochiching, Lake, and St. Louis. Now I'm going to take a moment to read our Arrowhead Area Agency on Aging land acknowledgement. As we support our mission to help older adults maintain their highest level of independence, we do this while being respectful of the space we are being welcomed into by Indigenous people. We strive to deepen our understanding of the multiple ways in which people see and understand land and acknowledge the Indigenous people who have relationships with this land. We also acknowledge the decades of historical trauma, loss, and grief experienced by Indigenous people. It is our promise to not only recognize these truths, but also take action to show support of our Indigenous elders, neighbors, and friends, and understand our place within the past, present, and future of this land. We know this is just one step in recognizing and honoring the sovereignty of tribal nations. We are so pleased to have 2 wonderful presenters with us today. First, Stefan is a financial advisor at Edward Jones in Hibbing, Minnesota. Mike has been in finance since graduating from college, beginning his career in lending before joining Edward Jones 12 years ago. He is a board member of Second Harvest Northland and loves living in northern Minnesota. Mike, we're glad you're here. We are also joined by Emily, the volunteer and engagement coordinator at United Way of Northeastern Minnesota. In her role, Emily connects individuals, families, and groups with meaningful volunteer opportunities that strengthen our region. She works to build lasting community partnerships, support local nonprofits, and ensure volunteers feel seen, supported, and celebrated. Emily brings a deep passion for helping others feel valued and is committed to creating inclusive spaces where everyone can contribute and make a difference. Emily, thank you for being with us today. I'll pass the floor over to Mike first and then Emily.
Thanks, Jess. I appreciate that, and look forward to running through some things today. And just appreciate the fact that you guys put this message out there to folks, just to learn a little bit more, again, on how do you donate some funds? What does that look like for you? Do you do it today? Do you do it tomorrow? And today we're going to cover those things. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's it look like? What are your options as far as donating funds? Again, in this life today, and then also look at it when you do pass on how can you again help some of those organizations that you care deeply about into the future. And so again, just a couple of caveats on what we're doing today. All these things are pretty general. Some of the things may apply to you, they may not apply to you, but everybody's situation is a little bit unique. And so, again, this is a high level on what are some of those options and what are the ways that you can create some of those strategies for yourself. But again, I would recommend, again, if you want to take some of the more technical things, you probably want to speak with your advisor or someone that you know that has some expertise in some of this stuff as well, just because each individual situation is unique. So let's go to the next slide. So again, we've got strategies on doing it during your lifetime. And let's start there. We'll start with lifetime. And again, the things that we can do today, there's two options. You can give money on a day-to-day basis, month-by-month basis, year-over-year basis, and just again give cash technically out of your checking account today, and just make those things happen for you and for the organization that you care about. There's another strategy that is available today that we call stacking. And stacking is a way that you can actually lump a bunch of your donations together, which may help improve some of the benefits of tax deductions when it comes to charitable giving. They changed some of the rules recently, and so as individuals or as joint couples, you just don't typically see where you can take advantage of those tax deductions any longer, just because of the limits that it takes to actually see those deductions make sense on your tax return. So again, two options are you give some today, and the other option is that you do this stacking where you add that up and do it all in 1 year. And if you could hit the next slide for me, please. And so again, this is a table that shows the benefits potentially of stacking. And so at this point in time, this example shows married filing jointly return, the deductions that you get, and the $34,200 you see on there is your standard deduction. If you were giving $15,000 a year as an example, if you did that over 3 years and you just did that every single year, you would give away $45,000. You'd see no increase in the tax deduction that you would potentially be able to get if you did the second option, which is stacking your donations. Stacking your donations means, again, you put all of them together in year one, you donate $45,000. And as you can see on the table, your tax deduction in this example would be $43,125. Again, at that point in time, you just see a bigger benefit, not only for you for your taxes, but again, that may mean that you can provide more giving into the future because you did save some taxes in that way. So if you can go to the next slide, I'll explain how we do this a little bit as well. So one of the ways that we do that at Edward Jones is through a donor advised fund. Edward Jones calls ours a charitable gift fund, but every organization has those that helps people manage money, or they partner with someone to help you manage those funds. You can use companies, like if you use Vanguard or if you use Fidelity, they all have these donor advised funds that you can use. One of the benefits of donor advised funds is that it allows you to use this stacking option when it comes to donating money. So when you have your own designated donor advised fund, you can donate the funds in that 1 year, and then you get credit for the taxes. Those funds sit in that donor advised fund for as long as you want to, and they can actually go on and pass on to the next generation. But it allows you to then choose which entities you want those funds to go to. And again, so benefits are you receive a little bit better tax deductions, so that may be a benefit for you. The other thing is that you get to choose which charities you want them to go to. So it's not like you have to give the full amount in one day. You get to choose when you want to donate that stuff, just to make sure that the charities that you appreciate and like are still doing the things that you want them to go do. And one thing I think that is pretty neat, as far as I'm concerned, when I'm speaking with my clients, is that they can pass it on to their family, and their family can carry on that legacy that, again, you've already established through this donor advised fund. And it does allow for those things, again, to help you make your way through some of that charitable giving that you make for your lifetime. So, again, while we're alive, we're able to do this stuff, which I think is pretty neat as well. So, just to recap that quick, again, it gives you the ability, or donor advised fund gives you the ability to evaluate the charities over time. It also shares your giving values with your loved ones, right? So they can continue that on for you forever. And then again, you're going to leave a legacy that is a little bit different than just what you're doing before. And then you also, again, like I said, get the tax benefit of doing that stacking. Um, so from there, any questions on that? Donor, I mean, we covered a little bit there, but donor advised funds can be a little bit technical. But any questions on that? I didn't see anything, but
I don't see anything in the chat at this time.
okay, perfect. Then let's go to the next slide. So this is just there's some other more technical or more advanced types or more complex ways that you can do things. I'm just going to introduce these things just quick because, again, I think they're probably maybe a little too specific to individuals at this point in time. But there are ways to give funds with what's called a charitable remainder trust or a charitable lead trust. And again, so if and these are typically used by higher net worth folks to be able to help with their estate planning purposes. So, again, just as an introduction, if that's something where you have questions or that may apply to you, write down charitable remainder trust or charitable lead trust because you're probably going to need to get an attorney involved, and you probably need to want to work with your financial advisor and your tax team to help you through those things. But just know that there's some extra things out there that you can go do if, again, that situation may apply to you specifically. But let's move on from that, just because it's pretty intense, pretty in depth, and I don't think it makes sense to cover at this second in time. So we've talked about, again, just as we're alive, the things that, again, how do we do it? What do we do? But now, what can we give, right? So what are the things that we can potentially give to folks or to give to those organizations that we care about? So the easiest thing is cash. And I think just about every organization that I've ever been a part of, that's a nonprofit, they love cash. Cash is great. And I don't think they mind those things when those come in. But again, that's an easy one. We can give those things pretty easily, obviously, by writing a check or donating that way. So easy enough on that. This is, again, where some of the other things maybe come into play, which is appreciated securities. So what they're talking about is any investment that you own that's increased in value, and as opposed to selling that investment, which would then cause a capital gain for you, which would then be taxed at, let's call it roughly 15% for the federal IRS, and then, between 7 and 10% for the state of Minnesota. So if you sold that asset, and as an example, if you bought Microsoft for $10,000 and it was worth $20,000 today, and you sold it, you'd have to pay capital gains tax on that $10,000 difference. Now, if your intent was to deliver those funds to the organization that you cared about or the charity that you cared about, you would subtract from that $10,000 the 15% for the federal government, and then also, again, 8 to 10, let's call it 10. So 25% of that $10,000, $2,500 goes away. you'd be able to give $17,500. If you just gave that appreciated Microsoft stock to the entity that you care about or the organization you care about, then you could actually give the full $20,000 in value. You would gift that to the organization. The organization then could manage those that stock how they would like. They could either sell it, they could keep it, they could do whatever they like. But now you're giving $20,000 to that organization with no tax implications at all for you. So appreciated securities is at least in my practice, is a very common thing that a good number of my clients will give to these organizations because again, it saves them taxes, which means that they can actually give more to that organization when they make the choice to go do those things. So a great way to get a little more money to an organization is by donating some of those appreciated assets that are outside of your individual retirement accounts or your employee plan. Those are in, again, just what we call individual accounts, joint accounts, or typical brokerage types of accounts where you can donate those types of things. So next page, please. So a couple of caveats on that, just to be careful of, if again, this is something that you want to go do, if you're doing it on your own, is to be careful when it comes to short-term gains. So a short-term gain is any gain. So let's go back to our Microsoft stock example. If we bought Microsoft on April 1st of this year and we sold it today because we doubled our money, or excuse me, we gifted it to the organization because we doubled our money in it, because it's a short-term gain, or we've owned it for less than 1 year, we are not able to, or the amount of the deduction is not the full value of the stock. It's only what we paid for it. Now, if you wait for 12 months and 1 day and then donate that stock, you get the full value to be able to offer as a deduction when it comes to giving it to that organization. So again, just as your tax implications are impacted by that, you have a much better benefit if you were to donate those stocks if you've held them for a year. Now, lost property, and what they're talking about here is if you bought Microsoft stock and the value went down and it was still down when you gifted that stock to the organization, or any asset that you owned, if you bought it for more and you gave it for, and it was worth less when you gave it, the benefits for you would be less as well. And the reason is that if you sold that stock, you would be able to take a loss, which you could write off on your taxes, which would help your overall tax burden. Now, again, the organization is still going to get the same number, but if you're going to pick and choose between what you want to give or what you should give when it comes to individual securities or when it comes to assets, pick the ones where you have gains because that will help your taxes at the end of the day. So it's more beneficial for you to pick and choose which investments make the most sense for your situation. So next slide, please. So a couple of things that have become way more popular, or I guess one thing mainly that's become way more popular. The rules of the road have changed a little bit since the Secure Act and the CARES Act and those types of things have been enacted. But at this point in time, what are called qualified charitable distributions, you can gift funds out of your IRA, and it's only your IRA today, but you can give funds out of your IRA to an organization and get a check written to them. And by doing that, you lower a couple of things. If you're over, depending on what your age is, if you have a required minimum distribution, or you may have heard it called an RMD, you get to lower how much you actually have to count as income on your tax return if you do a qualified charitable distribution. But the ages have changed now. It used to be that 70 and a half was when you were required to take minimum distributions out of your IRA. And now it can be 73 up to 75 before you have to start taking those. But just the main thing to remember is that at age 70 and a half, you can start gifting money out of your IRAs if you would like to, which means that, again, you have to pick your organization and your broker company, a company like Edward Jones, Ameriprise, whoever it may be, can actually send a check right to the organization that you care about. And that lowers your taxable income. And again, kind of like the example that we had about the capital gains, no taxes taken out. And so you can actually give more if you use a qualified charitable distribution. And I think a lot of organizations, especially nonprofit organizations, are starting to realize that. And I think people have, again, some people have more assets to give. through these things because it avoids taxes. And that is becoming more and more popular as we look through that stuff. So, again, other things that you can donate are real estate, business interest, tangible personal property, collectibles. I mean, you can donate those things. Again, I don't deal with those a whole lot, so that's typically more of a conversation between the organization that you want to gift those to and can they take them or not. So, next slide, please. So again, this is just kind of explaining some of those things, but again, 70 and a half, is really the age that you need to look at. And again, like I said before, you can't take qualified charitable distributions if you still have your money sitting in a 401k. If you had a set plan or a simple plan, what you can do is open up an IRA, transfer assets out, and then do the qualified distribution if you want to. That way, you can take money out of your Roth IRA as well. Again, when it looks at tax benefits, much more beneficial to leave the money in the IRA for your own tax issues or your own tax concerns. A Roth IRA allows you to put money in after tax. You can take the money out with no tax. So typically, if you're going to pick between the two, a Roth IRA or traditional IRA, more beneficial for tax purposes out of the traditional IRA. And then if we think about legacy stuff, so who does our money go to? If we give our Roth IRAs to our children or our grandchildren, they don't have to pay any tax on that when they take it out. If they take it out of an IRA, they have to take it out over 10 years, and their likely tax burden could be a little bit more. So again, if you're picking between the two, typically it makes more sense to donate the money out of an IRA, keep the money in your Roth IRA for yourself or your family. Next slide, please. So again, different assets that we can potentially use. Again, the qualified charitable distributions are from the IRA. Securities we want to hold for one more for a year at least, and then tangible property again. You can donate those things as well. Let's go to the next slide just because we covered all of those things. This is just a recap of it that I needed to include on here. And again, we talked about cash, we talked about employer accounts, we talked about Roth distribution. So let's go to the next slide again, please. So a few things that Edward Jones at least recommends, maybe avoid, again, giving some of those things, like tangible personal property that was sold by the charity in the same year that it was given. So again, it's based on your basis as opposed to which is what you paid for it. So instead of getting the bumped up stuff, you really don't see that benefit unless you really work with that organization to make sure that they hold on to that stuff longer. So again, those are a little more difficult things. Ordinary income property, and what they're talking about there, are things where you received your income. But again, it's only based on your basis. So holding those for short term, again, makes it just a little bit difficult and you don't get the benefits. And then again, like we talked about with lost properties. So again, that's anything that has a value that today that's less than what the value that you put into it. Again, you just don't get the tax benefits that you would if you use property that's appreciated. So again, let's go to the next slide. So again, those are all the things we talked about when we're alive, which I think, again, when I'm looking at people's situations, I think if it's available and you're able to while you're alive, personally, I see, my clients find more enjoyment, more pleasure, more benefits by giving while they're alive, as opposed, again, when we pass. Now, again, we'll talk about what we can do now on just how does that work if you want to wait, you want to keep all your money and then you donate it when you pass. And I think that's an okay option as well. It's really just, again, which option do you think makes the most sense for you? So I'll give the ways that we can give those funds when we pass. And the reason why we have to do them this way is that if we're no longer here, we can't give the correct instruction to make them happen. And again, the ways to do that is through your will. So again, just a good thing to always get done, I think, is to have your estate plan put together. And a will is one way to do that. So when you pass, if you have on your will, I want this much money to go to wherever, the executor of your estate will follow that will and the instructions on it. So you can provide the direction or your intent when it comes to where do you want your funds to go, at your passing through your will. Now, again, if you look in the blue box, it says what is probate. If you just did a will and you didn't do any beneficiaries, did anything else, your estate is going to have to go through probate, and probate is a legal action that you work with an attorney, go to court, and make sure that those things get transferred the way that you want them based on your will. But you're not alive to be able to sign for those transfers. So the courts have to say, yep, it's okay to go do this. Again, at my practice, and I would say probably almost every practice, we're working with estate planners, estate attorneys to try to help people avoid probate if we can. But if you just did a basic will, that's all you did, most likely your estate may have to go to probate. So just so you know that that would be the case. So to avoid that or help that, again, if your intent on the will is what you want to get done, great. And then secondarily, the next steps are typically that you add beneficiaries to your accounts. And a beneficiary designation provides for where do you want those things to go. So if you have assets in your IRA, like we talked about before, you can add a beneficiary, and a beneficiary can be an organization. So if there's, again, a charity that you love, that you care deeply about, that you want to see receive some funds, you can add them as a beneficiary onto your accounts, and they would receive whatever portion of that account you decided you want them to give. And if we're looking again at different types of accounts, so you've got brokerage accounts or joint accounts or individual accounts, you've got Roth IRAs, you've got traditional IRAs, you've got your employee sponsored plans. Typically, if they're pre-tax dollars, meaning you put money in pre-tax, which is an individual IRA, or again, a 401k, if it's pre-tax 401k deductions in there, those tend to be better for the charities to receive. And the Roth IRAs and the brokerage accounts tend to be better for your heirs or your family or whoever you want those funds to go to that are going to use them because of the benefits for taxes. When you gift money or when you pass away and you give those stocks, so in our Microsoft example, if the value was $10,000 or the cost basis was $10,000, you gave the stock at your passing and it was worth $20,000. Your family gets it for $20,000. They get a stepped up basis. They can sell it, no tax ramifications. Roth IRA, we already talked about that, but you put in money after tax and grows tax free, no tax ramifications for your family. IRA, if they take that money and you give it to them, they have to take the money over 10 years. Every dollar that comes out is considered income. So they have some tax ramifications on that. If you give the money out of your IRA to the charity, no tax ramifications. So just again, a quick overall on how does that work. And so again, you're going to want to work with your financial advisor, your brokerage company, where you keep your assets, and make sure that you've got your beneficiaries filled out. Check those. That's a key to your success on how does your money transfer the way that you want it to. So beneficiary designation on any qualified, any IRAs, those types of accounts, and then on your brokerage accounts or your individual or your joint accounts, it's called transfer on death or payable on death. The same thing holds true for your checking accounts, your savings accounts. Make sure that you go to your bank, make sure whoever you want those funds to go to, you've added, and typically at a bank, it's payable on death. And typically with your brokerage accounts, it's transfer on death. So you want to make sure that you get those things done. You can always update them, you can always change them. But if there's one thing that I would recommend doing, it would be to make sure that you get beneficiary designations cleared up in the way that you want them. And continue to review that over time because sometimes they do change. So next slide. Again, we already talked about these complex charitable, again, charitable trusts, those types of things. I'm gonna skip this one for now because we talked about those a little bit today. Again, we already talked about this a little bit, but just what can you give to charities at your passing? And you can give cash, you can give appreciated securities. Again, we talked about the difference between traditional and Roth and why. And so again, it's really just tax benefits. And I think overall, wrapping all of this around is you still have to make sure that you're taken care of, or that your spouse or your family is taken care of, so that they can still use those funds that you've accumulated over your lifetime to go still live the life that that you're hoping for. So next slide. So a couple other things that, again, you can do. So let's say you wanted to make sure that, the United Way of Northeastern Minnesota got $200,000, right? You could buy a life insurance policy today that you would make them the beneficiary of that life insurance policy, and you pay for it, you pay the premiums, And the day of your passing, the United Way of Northeastern Minnesota is going to get $200,000. It's a really clean, simple way to ensure that who you care about or the organization you care deeply about has those funds available. So that's one thing you can do with life insurance. Or if you're worried about your heirs, then you buy a life insurance policy, you give it to your heirs or your family. They're going to get it all tax free, and you can donate the funds that you have today to the charities that you again care deeply about. So there's two again just high level strategies that you can use with life insurance, but you can donate those things, and it's a great way again to ensure that there's a certain dollar amount that you're going to know how much it is. Again, at your passing. Again, a bunch of different types of life insurance policies can ensure that. But again, work with your insurance agent to make those things happen. Now, other assets, again, we talked about these things a little bit, at least just based with my experience, as an organization, as a board member of, um, the Second Harvest Northland Food Bank. Again, we're not going to deny anything, but again, it becomes very difficult when it comes to collectibles. What do we do with them? How do we handle them? Real estate, you can handle it, but it's a little bit more difficult. But again, those are all things that you, again, can find ways to donate. But what I would recommend, at least from my experience, would be, make sure you chat with that organization, see what they're capable of, what can they do, and then build a plan so when the time comes, everybody's on the same page. We had a couple of examples prior to our combination between Grand Rapids and Duluth where, we received some assets that were just like, I don't think we know what to do with this. Like, I don't think we as an organization have the capacity to go handle this. So it took some work, took some energy, took some effort. We were able to get it figured out, but it was a surprise. And I think that most institutes would really appreciate the upfront knowledge or understanding, and then work with you to make that the best transition possible for both firms, because we really want to help everybody out at the end of the day if we're giving them money. So next slide. Again, the benefits and consider. Let's go to the next one, and I think we're pretty good here. There's just a lot of information on here, so I think this can be shared if needed. But again, it just kind of recaps all of those things. So, again, I just appreciate the time. Any questions, feel free to reach out. Your, advisors should be able to help you with all of those things as well. And again, I hope that again you just continue to give. And if we can give more, I don't think there's an entity out there that wouldn't appreciate that. So thank you for being on, and thanks for giving me a little time to share this stuff.
Thank you so much, Mike, and I will pass it off to Emily.
Hi, everybody. Mike, thank you so much for going first. Get that out of the way. Yeah, so guys, my name is Emily Unhjem. I am with United Way of Northeastern Minnesota. I am the volunteer and engagement coordinator over there. I actually, it'll be a year here for me on May 1st. So it's kind of gone slow but fast, but very, very good things. It's a new position for our United Way. We've had a lot of volunteer needs and assessments in the past, and I'm really lucky and fortunate to have this role. And it offers me opportunities to come and talk about volunteering to groups like yours, and I'm happy to do it. So, at United Way, we focus on connecting people to resources they need to thrive, and a big part of that work is just helping people find meaningful ways to give back. So today I'm going to talk about how you can make a real difference through volunteering and service, because when we talk about legacy, it's not just about what we leave behind, but it's also about what we build while we're here. So, okay, next slide. Okay. Like I mentioned, I'm from United Way of Northeastern Minnesota. You can kind of see that map there that shows our service territory. We go from as south of as Cotton all the way up to that Angle Inlet, Baudette, and way up in the point there. And then side to side is roughly like the Brimson area, and then across to probably like Pingilly. We're almost like Nashua Keewatin is included, but not quite very much into Itasca County. So I will just kind of cover what we offer in our service territory today. But at the end, I will show other slides that mention other United Ways around the area. So if what I'm saying maybe doesn't fit for your space, it does. It's just at a different United Way. So, okay, so like I said, we are the Iron Range, Koochiching County, and Lake of the Woods County, and our mission is to unite and focus our communities in creating measurable results to improve people's lives and strengthen our families. Next slide. Okay, why volunteering matters. Here's some really fun statistics for you if you're a stats person, but across the country, about 75 million Americans volunteer each year, and more than half of us help our neighbors in informal ways. And that just tells us that people care and they truly want to show up for each other. But even with those numbers, there's still a gap between community needs and available support, and that's where each of us plays a role. Strong communities don't just happen, they're built by people willing to step in and help. And I love that quote, and I should source it from who it's from. But yeah, it's just so true. We all have to step up to help one another to truly make a difference. So, okay, next slide. Um, More stats here for for stat people. Minnesota leads the way. So, Minnesota has a 40.3% volunteer rate. We're the top three volunteer hours in the US. And that helps us with the next slide. You guys will see a really cool piece of information. But Minnesota consistently ranks in the top states for volunteering. And with that 40.3%, that's nearly 1.8 million people contributing their time, which is just fantastic to hear. And that's truly something to be proud of. It reflects a culture of showing up for one another. And in communities like ours, that culture is essential. Volunteers are often the reasons that programs, student services, and events are even possible. And I've just seen that true completely across the Iron Range here and across our service territory. Truly that there are so many events and activities and groups that just could not function without the help of volunteers. So very, very vital part of the work. Okay, next slide. Being that Minnesota is one of the top volunteer states, top ranked states in the US, there is a group that puts out, I believe it's called the independent sector, and they put out a value of the amount per hour that volunteers bring to organizations per state. So being that we're one of the tops, our amount is one of the tops. It's over $38 an hour to truly understand the impact that volunteering has here in Minnesota, which is crazy to me. I believe the highest was like the Dominican Republic maybe, and that was at like $50 value. But most states come in somewhere around like the 30 to 28 mark as far as the value of a volunteer hour. But if you really add that up, even if you're just volunteering 3 hours of time in a week, that's over $100 that you're saving a nonprofit, and so that's a way to, it's more than value, right? I mean, it's your time. So just a fun statistic to roll in there, but let's see. And that number, it only tells part of the story. It doesn't capture the relationships that are built, the confidence gained, or the lives changed. What it really shows is that volunteers expand what nonprofits do and they multiply impact. It is so true. There are so many programs that even just internally we could not have without the help of volunteers. So yeah, so for those people who like stats, I think these are some fun slides. So okay, I'm ready for the next one. Why nonprofits need you. So nonprofits are navigating a really important moment right now. Demand for services is increasing. More individuals and families need support, right? So I'm looking at the recent food sources is closing, in particular, Ruby's Pantry, I know has caused other agencies to extend hours, increase inventory. They're going to need more volunteer help than ever. And then even when like the SNAP benefits paused back in October, seeing all of these needs amplified puts a lot more pressure on nonprofits. And excuse me, here at United Way, I know that we've seen that as well. We've had an increase in the number of students who have signed up for some of our programs. The Buddy Backpack that provides weekend meal kits. In the photo here, we do have someone visiting a student for a Lunch Buddy mentor, that those numbers have increased. So we have a higher need because of the increasing demand right now. So really important time to be getting involved in volunteering if you're able. So, okay, next slide. What volunteering looks like today. So, volunteering looks different than it used to. People are looking for flexibility, like opportunities that fit into busy schedules, but still feel meaningful. I know myself busy schedule, but I do try to find ways to give back and volunteer. I try to get involved in things that support my interests, support my family. Things like that are important to me. And then one thing to consider too is that not all volunteer opportunities are looking for every day of the week. Some do, some places are able to accept volunteer help weekly, daily, but some are also just looking for a few hours once a year or once a month. So there really are some short-term opportunities. There's some long-term opportunities. In the photo here, the larger one is showing our day of impact here at United Way. I'm going to get to that on a further slide here, but that's just one day. We have different shifts for that. And that's only something we do once a year, so there's plenty of opportunities that may fit your schedule. Also, we're seeing more short-term options, group volunteering, and more opportunities to use specific skills. So one that I think is very interesting is remote volunteering. So some nonprofits and agencies are even looking for people just to help maybe enter in information, or I know we even asked help once to have someone help fill our database of all the food shelves in the area, right? So we asked for help gathering a list of per city what was available, and then we were able to plug that onto our website. But that was an easy way to volunteer that someone could do right from home. So those are things to consider. You might not think that opportunities like that exist, but they are out there. So and then that's skills-based roles. Like I had mentioned, Day of Action is a big one for us. While we do accept volunteers that are maybe beginner level, as far as like painting or gardening, things like that, we do definitely happily accept any former carpenters and things like that can really help us grow that as well, and provide those types of skill-based volunteering time, because I do not know how to build a deck myself. So I need help there too. So everyone's skills are greatly appreciated, and not just with United Way. I mean, it's across the area of people looking for volunteers. So, okay, next slide. Local impact. Okay, so this is about United Way and some of our programs in particular. So at United Way of Northeastern Minnesota, volunteers are at the heart of everything that we do. Buddy Backpacks helps provide weekend meals to students, and volunteers pack those bags. We have a group of volunteers come in once a week, and they pack anywhere from 700 to 1,400 buddy backpacks. And now those go out to students every Friday, or if they have no school Friday, it would be on Thursday. And it's a kit of food that gets them through the weekend. So we have a lot of families that will actually look to that food to provide a meal over the weekend. A lot of the students take it home so that they know they have a food source when they're away from school. It's an absolutely vital piece of what we do. And we have a team here of 8.5. I think we're 8 and one part-time employee, but there is no way we could be packing over 700 lunches a week. That's crazy. That's crazy to think. So we're very, very thankful for the people who come in and pack that. It's an hour and a half typically. We've had groups come in really fun. We've had some like teen groups come in, hockey teams, things like that, and they make it a race and they can pack in like under an hour, and that's just crazy. I'm not built that way, but it's really fun and it's a super engaging opportunity. We recommend it highly for groups, friends. I know a lot of people use it as time to catch up. And, if you're the position you pick of the job list is like one of the walking jobs, which is moving things into the bag, you do get quite a few steps in an hour and a half. So just a great way to get out and in a short amount of time, but make a big, big impact in the area. So Lunch Buddies is connecting mentors with students just one lunch a week. So that means you go to the school, and like certain schools are on Tuesdays, certain schools are Wednesdays, certain schools are Mondays, I believe, and or else it's Thursdays. I'm trying to remember. But anyway, and the lunch buddies come in and they sit and eat lunch with a student that could just use a little bit of extra one-on-one time. A lot of our mentors find this incredibly rewarding, and we've seen them follow a student all the way to high school, which is just really, really fun. And they built that connection, and some even will mentor right in their town. If you live in Chisholm, you can mentor at the Vaughn at the Chisholm Elementary there, and they'll see their mentors or their mentees around town. And it's just a super rewarding experience to know somebody and for those kids to have that connection with a great adult in the area. So I know that we have some mentors on that one that come back every year. It's their favorite way to volunteer. And just awesome that once a week you can get out, have lunch with a student, and the difference you're making is really neat. So that one just goes through the school year. We also have our Meet Up and Chow Down opportunity that provides meals to kids during the summer months. So, I don't know about you guys, but I like to get outside in the summer, get as much sun as I can. So, this is a great opportunity for people who like that. You go to a park in one of our 15 communities, a park or outside of a school, or sometimes it's in front of the library. And you're provided meals, so you don't have to make those meals yourself. You'll either pick up a cooler or a cooler will be delivered to you by other volunteers. And then you will hand out lunches to kids. So we have kids that walk over or run over or bike over and every day know that they can go get free lunch at the park or at the library. And that operates all summer long, Monday through Thursday. Volunteer opportunities for that, we're just asking that you commit to a full month of 1 day a week. So that could be Tuesdays in July or Thursdays in August, or you could take Mondays the whole summer long. That is up to you. But we do just ask that the minimum required is to be able to do 1 day a week for the month. So that does not operate during 4th of July, and it doesn't operate right away until school gets out. I believe it starts this year on June 8th, and then we'll end a week early before Memorial Day. But that's a really fun way to just get out and get some sunshine yourself. I know we have a lot of work groups that will come and do this opportunity too. Just a great way to get out in the middle of the workday and see some familiar faces. And a lot of teachers like the opportunity too to see some of their students in the summer. So it's a really fun opportunity. And then our day of action I'm going to talk about. So that is a 1 day. I think the gentleman here in the picture is wearing an orange t-shirt. That was our first one when we were in Keewatin. Last year we were in Nashwauk wearing blue t-shirts. And then this year we're going to be in Chisholm. So the event is Friday, June 26th. It's a 6/26/26. And you can volunteer in the morning, the afternoon, or a full day. All volunteers get a free lunch. All volunteers get a free t-shirt. And it's just a great opportunity for groups, families, friends, or even someone solo to come out and give back in their community, spend some hours. And one fun thing to consider too is while, we were in Nashwauk, Keewatin, and now Chisholm, we're just continuing to move our way across the Iron Range. So if we're not in your community this year, it doesn't mean you're not part of like our 5-year forecast, right? So any opportunity to give back in other areas supports everyone. So let me see. Oh, the last is our volunteer center. So that's what my next couple slides are going to be about in particular. Our volunteer center is something that our United Way is helping to develop. And just kind of the big overall quick is it's a great spot to look to find not only ways to volunteer here at United Way, but with agencies across our service territory. So if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide, and I'll dive into the volunteer center a little bit more. Okay, our volunteer center is for any local group with a volunteer need. You'll find United Way's trusted partner agencies, nonprofits, and community groups from across the region looking for all types of help. You can find a volunteer opportunity for the local cause you care about most. So, one of the biggest challenges is simply just knowing where to start, right? So insert the volunteer center. I have the website on the page there, www.unitedwaynemn.org/volunteer. There's also the QR code if you want to pick up your phone and take a picture of that. You can do that as well. But we started this volunteer portal in 2023. We received a grant for it. And the purpose is to truly, like I mentioned, not just provide ways to volunteer at United Way, but across the area, our entire service territory. So there's ways to give back to nonprofits, booster clubs, board service, agencies. I mean, you name it, it's in here. I'm hoping it's in here. If you see one that's missing, you let me know because I want to make sure all the volunteer opportunities get on this page. So, one really fun thing is when you get to the page at the very top, obviously are going to be ways to give back at United Way. I mentioned like Buddy Backpacks, Day of Action. Those are going to be right at the top. But when you continue to scroll, it says volunteer with local agencies. And I think it really surprises people about what's even out there. I think they think of the typical, right? Maybe like a food shelf or United Way. And then I've seen people scrolling and, just the realization of like, oh yeah, Precious Paws or oh yeah, the Masabi Humane Society, or oh, I could be a volunteer driver for Arrowhead Transit. I think that people are really surprised to see what's out there. And I'm trying really hard to get in, especially with some of our smaller communities and post their opportunities too. Because not everybody is up for travel, right? You might live in Aurora and love what United Way is doing, but not want to come all the way here to pack some backpacks. So maybe you find something in Aurora to do, right? Or some way to give some time and volunteer your efforts that way. So we really love what the Volunteer Center has really expanded, especially with my role here and trying to get as many groups together as possible. So yeah, it's awesome. I hope you guys check it out. I'm really proud of it. It's a pretty spot to go to too. So, feel free to share also. I know I get a lot of phone calls and walk-ins and things of people, that their students maybe need volunteer hours. Their family members maybe need community service. I mean, it's just a great spot to kind of land and get ideas of where you can spend your time. So, and that really goes back to United Way's mission, which is to unite and focus our communities in creating measurable results to improve people's lives and strengthen families. We're not saying volunteer at United Way only. That's not what I'm saying. I don't always have enough opportunities. I just don't. Right now I filled up buddy backpacks. Lunch Buddies is ending. The school year's ending. I have one day of action in June. One day is not enough for a lot of people who want to volunteer or have specific needs for their time or location. So this is just a great spot for me to send everybody over to. So the next slide is showing all of the United Ways like across the area. So we have Head of the Lakes. They serve Cook, Lake, and St. Louis County, or sorry, South St. Louis County. United Way of 1,000 Lakes serves the majority of Itasca County, And then United Way of Carleton and Pine County serve Carleton County and beyond. So I try to make sure I got all of the ones kind of in this area on here for you. Their links are on this page as well. They all have similar volunteer centers. So mine is going to be my area and our opportunities. I know like Head of the Lakes, they don't do any internal volunteer opportunities. They only help push external. So theirs is a little bit different, but still the same. So make sure you're reaching out to any of these or myself if you're looking for ways to find volunteer places in your area. And I'm also happy to direct you if you guys want a referral. So be happy to direct you to those people too. So, okay, next slide. One thing people don't think of for volunteering is board and community leadership. So I know a lot of nonprofit boards, advisory groups are all looking for some help, and it really is a great way to just take that deeper step into board service and community leadership roles. Your voice and perspective matter in those rooms, and it is so true. I know my dad actually recently retired, and he has found a lot of value of being on the board of his condo. And because he's just truly, I mean, he loves where he lives and he just wants to make it better. So you might think that volunteering is just a single day or every day of the week, but sometimes board service, right? People don't always think of that as an opportunity, but it truly is a way to volunteer and give back. So at the bottom of our volunteer center, there are some open board opportunities across the range that we are aware of that have been posted in there. So, but yeah, the big thing is just to volunteer where it makes a good fit for you. Things that you're passionate about are going to make it seem more fun than a chore. So, all right, next slide. Okay. Why it matters to you. So you can build connections, find purpose, strengthen community, create legacy. It isn't just about giving, it's also about what you gain. So you build relationships, find purpose, and become more connected in your community. When you talk about legacy, this is a big part of it, right? It's the impact you have on people and places while you're here. That's a big thing that I think about legacy. So yeah, so okay, the next slide is just kind of how to get started. So, like I mentioned, follow your interests, follow things that you're proud of, things that um, that interest you, that get you excited, building connections, starting small, use the volunteer center. I can't stress that enough. I'd be so happy if everyone used the volunteer center. Invite others, right? Don't volunteer alone. Go spend your time with family. I know my kids and I have devoted some time and we go and help, I mean, across the range. We go to Precious Pauses one. Obviously, I, rope them in here at United Way. But just getting to spend that time with someone makes it even better. So yeah, I think you should just try it once, see how it feels. You can always only commit once and then see how it goes from there. So as of this morning, guys, I counted on our volunteer center and we have 62 opportunities from 37 different agencies in our volunteer center. So that's just in our service territory. It grows every day. So yeah, feel free to head that direction and yeah, you should be able to find a place to start there. So, okay, next slide. I'm just about done here. Legacy is what you build today. It isn't just what you leave behind someday, right? It's what you build, contribute to, and invest in today. And whether that's through volunteering, leadership, or giving, it all works together to create lasting impact. So, okay, next slide. All right, that wraps me. So, volunteering is for everyone, whatever your skills, schedule, or comfort level. If you're interested in volunteering and learning more, I'd love to connect. My contact info is on the page here, our website, my email, and my phone number. And then that QR code goes right to our volunteer center. So, but yeah, again, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for even just your interest in giving back in your community, and the support you give is just outstanding. And wherever you volunteer, they're very thankful for you. So thank you guys so much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you both so much. What a great combination of perspectives we've had today on both, community giving and community engagement. We have just a minute left, so if anyone has any questions, please put them in the chat. I hadn't seen any come through as we went along, but if you have any now, we can ask them to our presenters. Otherwise, if we see any come in, or if you think of one later, you can send me an email and we can pass them on and get them answered for you. Before we wrap up today, I do want to make sure that everyone knows about our remaining Get Your Ducks in a Row campaign webinars this week. They are all free and they are all at the same time from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Tomorrow, Wednesday, April 15th, we have Creating Your Family Legacy, Values, Stories, and Connection. Thursday, April 16th, we have Understanding the Dying Process. And Friday, April 17th, we have A Mindful Path to Peace Through Purposeful Decluttering. You can also find information about our in-person community workshops coming up throughout the region at ducksinarowmn.org. And just to close us out, Mike and Emily, on behalf of the Arrowhead Area Agency on Aging, everyone who joined us today, we just want to thank you so much. The perspective that you've each brought today, from financial planning to the power of volunteering, community connection, it's such a meaningful reminder that leaving a legacy isn't just about dollars and cents. It's about showing up for the people and places and organizations that we love. To our attendees, thank you for being here. We hope today gave you some new ideas and maybe even some inspiration for how you want to make a mark in your community. Today's recording will be available on our YouTube channel in the coming days, and we'll send a link out to all registrants once that's ready. In the meantime, you can find us at arrowheadaging.org, and on the screen, we've got our email, our Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn links. We hope you have a wonderful Tuesday, everyone. Thank you and take care.